It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Saneboy Ngwana alongside Zamanzi Manza. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Mbabane, and these are your top stories tonight. La Kobetelago proceeded to Gunsele Royal Field as they are continuing with weeding Royal Field. The Ministry of Health has received a medication worth 350 malangene from the MSF organization. And the Minister for Health, Nkosi, says the country has a responsibility to ensure that the National Control Room that monitors the vaccination progresses in Eswatini and is sustained. And now the news in detail. La Kobetelago proceeded to Gunsele Royal Field as they are continuing with weeding Royal Fields. It is now the fourth day ever since the regiment started weeding Royal Fields.
La Kobetelago continued to weed Royal Fields on Thursday morning. They weeded Gunsele Royal Field. Warriors are hoping for a bumper harvest despite the heavy rains that the country received recently. When they were done weeding, they then proceeded to Bulletin royal residence to get an order from His Majesty through Indvuna Komendanyeni Makakulam.
Majama social distance sidawuphila nasilalela lo mthetho sifake ifonyo noma shuka kube njalo sifonyo asibe semlonyeni. Majaha lalela uve kahle kule ndlebe njani nje. Kusasa majaha empawantu ayatha.
Warriors are still encouraged to observe all the COVID-19 regulations and restrictions. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tabiso Dlamini at Bulletin Royal Residence.
The Minister for Health, Nkosi, says the country has a responsibility to ensure that the National Control Room that monitors the vaccination is sustained. The minister was speaking during the Israel AIDS Country Coordinator Fall function held in Mbabane. Our reporter Sontom Langeni has more on that story.
The Minister for Health in Eswatini, Nkosi, bid farewell to Israel Aid humanitarians who assisted the country in COVID-19 vaccine rollout. The minister says the country has a responsibility to grow and sustain the control room that monitors the vaccine rollout.
So my thanks to Israel Aid really is acknowledging and thanking them for the knowledge and experience they brought, the insights they brought into the work we're doing, the sharing of some of the technology, as you've seen, in the control room that they brought with them. But also the broadness of their thinking. You know, they were thinking very widely because it wasn't just experience. Israel is not just experience in Israel, it's experience from many other countries across the world. So we have benefited from that learning. I do hope that it will continue working that way.
Israel Aid's country director says their main objective is to be able to fight the COVID-19 pandemic.
So the major part of the control room was to do all of that, to coordinate, to collaborate all the different partners the one that we have worked with day to day, as I mentioned, and also different partners who's doing an event, festivals, I don't know, even Christmas events that they want to say, okay, let's vaccinate there, for example. So they'll coordinate also through the control room to do that. And of course, the idea is that this information of where is the sites for vaccines and what time can you go, who is eligible for it, all of that been also coordinated in the control room and with all the different partners and departments of the Minister of Health.
The country director stated that the humanitarian experience is meant to help the government of Eswatini build and implement a successful immunization program. For Eswatini TV News Ndomlangeni in Babane.
The Ministry of Health has received medication worth 350,000 malangeni from the MSF organization, also known as Doctors Without Borders. The medication will assist, amongst others, COVID-19 patients.
The Ministry of Health has received medication worth 350,000 malangeni from MSF, which are the Doctors Without Borders. The medication will assist, amongst other things, COVID-19 patients. The organization's project coordinator, James Mutaria, says while battling the fourth wave, it is important to partner with the ministry, as this is a need during such a time, and not only is government facing with COVID-19, but other illnesses as well.
We started off with HIV, but then COVID came along, and that has stretched a lot of resources, and we have to pull together to respond to that need. So we are donating a variety of medications meant for use in the intensive care like facilities like Bombo and others that need them.
Receiving the donation on behalf of the Minister of Health was the Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, who passed their gratitude as a ministry, emphasizing that it came at a time when it was needed the most.
We are receiving medicines worth over 348,659 emalangeni, which will go a long way to assist in the fight against COVID-19 and other conditions in our facilities. The donation includes potent anti-infectives, potent analgesics, emergency medication used in resuscitation, even resuscitation of COVID patients, and others, which include even such supplements as zinc sulfate, which is used also in COVID patients, steroids, blood thinning agents, all which are needed in hospitals.
Dr. Makakula also highlighted that they are expecting ART medication for children, which is expected to arrive in the country any time from now. For Eswatini TV News, I'm KNMCB at the Central Medical Stores in Matsapa.
Eswatini who will have an interest to set off fireworks will have to apply for permits to municipalities in Royal Crow. Now, this is according to Police Information and Communications Officer Pindile Vlagati, who says no one will be allowed to use fireworks without a permit.
Eswatini would like to celebrate the crossover to 2022 are advised to seek for permits to use fireworks. This is after a stern warning has been issued to the nation by the police to acquire permits. The Police Information Communications Officer Pindile Vilagati says Eswatini should get the permits from municipalities, offices and royal crows.
Fireworks letinhlobo letiduma kakhulu letidzinga buchwepheshe lokudzinga indzawo thite kuze ukwende labo ke kubhekekile ukuthi labo labasemadolobheni bathintsane nebaphathi bemadolobha kucela yona imvume yekwenda lokho.
Vilagati says the permits will be issued only when an inspection for safety has been done.
Nakhona ke kuba nekupopola ukuthi vele lendzawo ingiyo yini lo mvu ulungele yini uyakwati yini ufundzele yini lokho.
Vilagati says there are fireworks that need certain expertise. She says this is made to ensure safety of Eswatini, especially children. For Eswatini TV News Ndomlangeni, Mbabane.
The Ministry of Natural Resources has apologized to the nation for the shortage in fuel that was experienced in some parts of the country recently. In a press statement, the Minister for Natural Resources, Peter Bembe, says they're working around the clock to fix the problem.
Following the shortage of fuel supply in some parts of the country, the Minister of Natural Resources has sincerely apologized to members of the public for the disruption which has caused an inconvenience to some businesses. In a press statement from the Minister of Natural Resources, Peter Pembe, this is as a result of a disruption in some oil companies which faced challenges securing adequate fuel supply within SACU. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Dorcas Dlamini, says they are working around the clock with relevant stakeholders to normalize the situation.
Would like first to apologize to the public for the inconvenience caused by the shortage of petrol in the country. This is what not is doing the work challenges faced by one of our oil companies, and this oil company is one of the major supplier to the retailers. They had problems in the Republic of South Africa with their contracts. They couldn't secure their contracts on time, and they are still negotiating their contracts so that they can get the fuel in time. In the process, the government has sat down with the company and the ministry's concerned, that is Natural Finance, and the company itself, so that they could get fuel from Mozambique by allowing them to have that special permit for the first quarter of 2022, so that while they are getting fuel from Mozambique, they can still negotiate their contract with the Republic of South Africa.
She assures the nation and all affected stakeholders that this would not be a norm in the future. This report is from the Minister of Natural Resources, Peter Pembe. Reporting, I am Kian Msibi, Mbabane.
The Eswatini Environment Authority reminds the nation to avoid littering during these holidays. Now, according to Eswatini Environment Authority's Communications Officer, Bulletin, she says event organizers are expected to arrange proper waste disposal sites.
Festive holidays come with many different events, which some are family events. This means that more people, more garbage, especially in cities and even in rural areas. The Eswatini Environment Authority's Communications Officer Belusile Mhlanga says events organizers and promoters have the duty to make sure that proper waste management plans are available.
Umthetho uye uthi lona lolungise lomcimbi nguye lona le responsibility kokuthi abuke kokuthi lenza bebakathe bakuyo isala ihlantekile. Nabo ke laba labaya kule micimbi sicela kubakhuthaza phela kokuthi ababe bantu labo labatiphatha kahle bangalahli nje tibi nganoma ngangini kuze kusina lomcimbi nawo utoba muhle. Nalamakhaya ke njengoba kutikhathi tekujabula siyabona lokho ukuthi tibi tikhiciteka ngendlela leyo lengajwayeleki. Siyakhuthaza ke sive semaswati ukuthi asichubekeni sibe ngilabo labahlandekile sikhumbule ukuthi sifuna live lethu ukuthi futhi libe ngilo lelihlobile sithi clean Eswatini. Kungako ke sicela tingatfolakala setlahle etihosheni noma etinzaweni leto letingakafanelekile. Asitithembise nje sonke ngamunye kokuthi lo mnyaka lomusha lona akube ngilona loqhamuka netinguquko ukuthi sihlala etinzaweni leto tihlandekile.
Mhlanga says people should avoid disposing waste in riverbanks as this pollutes water and can go to as far as causing issues with animals. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Manzini.
The Director of Agriculture, Nelson Mavuso, applauds farmers for raising an alarm whenever they see something suspicious on their fields. This follows after a farmer who took to Facebook seeking for help after seeing grasshopper-like insects that had invaded his farm.
A certain farmer took to Facebook for advice following a strange set of insects, mainly grasshoppers, that invaded his farm, destroying everything. His Facebook friends advised him to contact the Minister of Agriculture, which he did. We took the initiative to talk to the Director of Agriculture, Nelson Mavuso, on the matter. Mavuso first applauded this farmer for raising an alarm whenever there's something suspicious. He says the first advice would be to ensure he has chickens that would feed on these grasshopper-like insects. He says even birds also feed on the same, and as a result, they are there because of too much weed.
If lokho kungasebenzi bese ke siyakhuthaza ukuthi umlimi angabe sewasebenzisa ama-pesticide. Ukuqala i-pesticide lesingayisebenzisa kungaba ngibo boosindo cypermethrin.
He says another option would be to get a special spray and spray them. They would be finished in no time. The farmer says he is based in Madlangambisi and that information was given to the relevant officers in the Ministry of Agriculture. Mavuso assures the farmer that they will soon pay him a visit and see how he can be assisted. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kiani Msibi, visuals sourced from Facebook.
Right about now, let's take a look at our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. Tinyosi Football Club head coach Sfiso Ndibane says more hard work is needed from his boys if they are to change and improve the current performance of the team. So far, Tinyosi has only collected 7 points in 8 games played in the current season. Fabrice Msonera has more on that story.
Lobamba-based football club Tinyosi was promoted to the Premier League last season, where their biggest mandate was to ensure that they do not relegated. Successful, so they did not. In the current new Premier League season, Tinyosi seem to be walking on a thin ice with a performance so far that has left supporters wondering if they will survive the current season. For now, the team has only collected 7 points in their 8 games played.
Besolo siku 7 games 7 points, of which now convert final to destroy all the games.
Team head coach Sfiso Ndibane says serious hard work from his boys is required if they are to get back to winning ways and assure the supporters that the team will not get relegated.
Players, because it's a league, it's not a knockout. Sibuye regroup and focus more and see small mistakes less were committed.
Their recent defeat came in the hands of Manzini Seabirds, where they lost 3-1 at the Mafso Sports Center. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Linda Dlamini, Babane.
The Public Relations Office of the Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council, Dumsan Diwane, says 2021 was indeed a remarkable year for the sporting fraternity, even though a majority of sporting associations delayed to start their programs due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
By the beginning of this year, a huge number of sporting associations were banned from conducting training sessions and national tournaments due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. By the time government, in conjunction with the mother board of sporting fraternity in the country, lifted restriction, majority were able to quickly get back to business and represent the country internationally.
Sitawukhumbula sive semaswati ukuthi i-COVID-19 isimisile kakhulu imidlalo yethu leminengi vele.
Dumsani Ndiwane, who is the Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council spokesperson, says the performance of different associations, including the recent Region 5 games, were the highlight of 2021, but the best lies ahead in 2022.
Silver medals sabuya nema-bronze medals, so kusinhlangano kusikhuthate kakhulu lokho kungako nje kulomnyaka lotako sifuna kuchubeka lapho sigcina.
The upcoming 2022 Commonwealth Games to be staged in Birmingham in England will most definitely highlight the country's performance in 2022. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our news making headlines tonight. La Cobetelago proceeded to Gunsele Royal Field as they are continuing with weeding Royal Field. The Ministry of Health has received a medication worth 350 malangene from the MSF organization. And the Minister for Health, Lizinkosi, says the country has a responsibility to ensure that the National Control Room that monitors the vaccination progresses in Eswatini and is sustained. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini. That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the crew here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.